Okay, grab soundbite number 24. This is fake news. Jim Acosta, CNN, Wolf Blitzer, says, what are you picking up over there at the White House, Jim?
I'm told by a separate White House official just in the last several minutes that Steve Bannon was given was essentially supposed to be fired 2 weeks ago, but was given the option to resign. Make no mistake, Steve Bannon was fired by the White House. He was fired. He was given the boot. When you were told that you have the option to resign, you are being fired. So just to, sort of break our way through the semantics game here, that is essentially what has taken place. And, this is essentially something that's been in the works for some time. As I said, a White House official told me that some of this was supposed to happen 2 weeks ago.
Now, the cheat sheet here says that Acosta reported that the chief of staff, Kelly, fired Bannon, but you heard Acosta didn't say that. So I'm still tracking that down. But what we can take from this is Bannon's out there. The story at Circa News, Bannon said he has resigned from Trump's White House and did so 2 weeks ago. The source here is Sarah Carter at Circa News, which is a news outlet owned by Sinclair Broadcasting, Sinclair Media. In this report, you heard fake news Jim Acosta saying that Bannon was given the option to resign 2 weeks ago, but didn't. That he was fired. Now, Acosta, in his elementary way of speaking, it's like he's talking to Fredo Cuomo. And, well, when they tell you you have the chance to resign, they're really firing. Yeah, that's right. That's really smart, Fredo. You're right. Bottom line, timing here. 2 weeks ago, Bannon was told, we want you out. You can resign or not. And in that 2 weeks, Bannon calls Kuttner at the American Prospect and sells Trump out on North Korea and on China and on supposedly Trump's own base. Then the news hits 2 days after that interview that Bannon has been fired. Apparently he didn't resign, although he's now saying he did 2 weeks ago. It's convoluted. But what I want to make a prediction here in the next hour, and I want you to, Mike, I want you to roll this prediction off because I'm not going to be here next week. And if I'm right, I want you to grab the prediction and play it for people. Because I can see 2 or 3 different ways this can go now. And one of the ways, this is not the prediction, one of the ways is that the media, which has hated and despised Bannon since he first got this gig, and maybe even before, will now turn around and not hate Bannon, and in fact will portray Bannon. It's possible because of that interview he did with Kuttner at the American Prospect, where he did undercut Trump's North Korea policy. He said, we can't do it. I don't know what he didn't say, I don't know what Trump's thinking, but he basically said, they've got us. This can't work. Now, the media could portray Bannon as the only sensible, sane guy in that White House and wanted out of there, but didn't want to resign because that's quitting. He wanted to be fired, and that's why he called the American Prospect, and that's why he sold Trump out, because Bannon's the only sane guy in there, and he couldn't take it anymore, and he wanted Trump to fire him. I can see them doing that. Anything to get Trump. And anything to portray Trump, as unbalanced and a lunatic and all that. I'm sure somebody's already presented this, too. Bannon's not really fired. They're just saying so. Bannon's going to keep advising Trump on the down low, on the phone. This is just for optics. Somebody will have that interpretation, too. Okay, this is it, folks. This is it. Final hour for me for a week. Open Line Friday on the EIB network.
Live from the Southern Command in sunny South Florida, it's Open Line Friday.
Yes, sir, Bob. Great to have you here where we meet and surpass all audience expectations every day. And Open Line Friday means whatever you want to talk about, have at it. I'm going to try, spend some time here with a little... On the phones, people have been patiently waiting. Some interesting polling data out there, by the way, from Marist. It is an NPR PBS poll, and it indicates that things are not nearly as bad for Trump as you would believe. I was kind of shocked when I went through this. Let's see. Also, did I already print that out of the? Yeah, grab soundbite number 25. This is the guy that Bannon called, who runs the American Prospect. This is the guy he called, gave the interview to earlier in the week. CNN breathlessly tracked this guy down. Robert Kuttner had an interview with him out there, and it was Wolf Blitzer. And Wolf's question was this. He said, there are several people who have been fired or resigned, either from the White House or the campaign, and the president still maintains that back. I told you, I knew it. Did you, right before the last thing I said in the previous hour, I said that there are going to be people that think he's not really fired. It's just optics. He's still going to be advising Trump, meaning Bannon. He's going to be advising him behind the scenes. Everybody knows that. I said somebody's going to say this. And Wolf Blitzer did. Here's the question. There are several people who have been fired or resigned, either from the White House or the campaign, and the president still maintains that back-channel communication with them. So, you suspect that the communication with Bannon will continue even though he's officially out of the White House?
I think it makes the White House itself more chaotic, but it also means that Trump is even more reliant on all of these back channels. And I think the man of the hour is General Kelly. I mean, what is he going to do? If he had not succeeded in forcing Trump out, it would have shown that he's impotent. So now we know that he has some power, but does he have enough power given all of the propensities of this president?
He misspoke there. He meant to say Bannon. When he was talking about General Kelly. I mean, what's he going to do if he had not succeeded in forcing Trump out? That's what he said. He meant Bannon. Would it have shown that he is impotent? So, what they're setting up here is that Kelly is the man of the hour. General Kelly finally put his foot down and brought some sanity to this place and forced Bannon out of there. He didn't answer Wolf's question about back channels here. He continued to say that the thing for Kelly now is to see, he realizes he's got some power. He succeeded in getting rid of Bannon. But does he have enough power, giving all of the propensities, meaning all the insanities of Donald Trump? So that's going to be a new take on this. Now, this can go any number of ways, the treatment of Bannon. But you know what I think is happening out there? You tell me if you think I'm right or wrong on this. Look at the media and the way they're focusing on this. And I wouldn't be surprised if over half, more than half of America is saying, who? Steve, who? Now, the media is acting like, once again, since they report it, everybody knows it and everybody agrees. And so they believe, and not to be redundant, but they believe that Bannon put together the base that elected Trump. And that base is a bunch of reprobates and hate figures. They think Bannon assembled the Nazis and the populists, the nationalists of the white supremacy movement and the KKK to elect Trump, and he did it from Breitbart News. They have believed this. They have tried to convince any number of people that Trump didn't get elected on his own. Trump didn't have the appeal. Bannon did it. That's why, the stories that have been written about will Trump fire Bannon for the last number of weeks have all had a theme. Would Trump dare anger his base? The theory being that if Trump fires Bannon, that Trump's base will abandon Trump because they're really loyal to Bannon. And I think that's a bunch of BS, too. I think that's so far gone that it's laughable. Because in their minds, they just can't acknowledge that Trump could win by himself. He's such a reprobate, such a pig, that there has to be, and because they lost, because Hillary lost, there has to be something that explains this. That was above and beyond their control. And so they tried Russia. They tried Russia for a year. The fact they're spending so much time on this is all the evidence I need to know they don't have anything on Russia collusion, because they keep careening from story to story or issue to issue. The theme is get Trump, get rid of Trump, impeach Trump, somehow get Trump out. That's what Russia was about, and still is. They're still hoping Mueller comes up with something. And now this Bannon business, or this stuff that happened in Charlottesville, that's all about getting Trump. But there's so much focus and so much energy being put into it that it tells me they've got nothing anywhere else. Now they think that Trump has really dealt himself a suicidal blow. They believe, do not doubt me on this, they believe that the people that voted for Trump are going to revolt against Trump now, because Trump got rid of the guy they really like, Steve Bannon. In other words, Trump supporters really don't want Trump. Trump's got to get elected, but Bannon is the guy. If Bannon's not there, Trump can't get anything done. That's what the media wants you to think the Trump base believes. You know, I should better state it. That's what the media believes. That's what the Washington establishment, they really do. You might think, Rush, don't be silly. They're not that. Yes, they are, folks. They have to invent outrageous stories to explain to themselves why they lost. Remember, they think they own everything necessary to win every election. The fact is, they are losing elections and continue to do so. They are not the majority of the country. They are not the mainstream. It just looks like it because they run the media. But they're not, folks. They are not the mainstream. So how can this go otherwise? Well, they could look at Bannon and try to turn him into a sympathetic figure. And they will say, Bannon, he knew. He knew this is over. Everybody can see it. Trump has lost his mind. Trump never had a mind. And what little mind Trump had's gone now. Trump's just off. It's not salvageable. And Bannon knew he had to get out of there. He'd given his best shot. He had to get out of there. And so he went and talked to Kuttner at the Prospect, and he purposely threw Trump overboard because he had to get fired. He couldn't quit and look a quitter. Had to get fired. Had to get out of there because Trump is such a lost cause. That's one way the media can take this. Sympathetic to Bannon and try to rope Bannon in and get him as a regular guest. It'd be nirvana if they get Trump in or get Bannon in to start savaging Trump. Oh, can you imagine how happy that would make him? Steve Bannon is a nightly strategist or contributor on either MSNBC or CNN. And whenever Trump utters anything, bring Bannon in. What did he mean? If you had told him to say that, what would your objective have been? Bannon could say, well, I didn't tell him to say that, obviously, or he wouldn't have said it. It could go any number of ways. But I wouldn't be surprised if the last year they've hated Bannon with a purple passion and overnight turned into sympathetic and appreciative of Bannon.